Hey, beautiful souls. Have you ever noticed a quiet nudge within you and asked yourself, is this coming from inner guidance or is this coming from my ego? Knowing the difference between the two can seem challenging, but quite honestly, this is the most important skill that any human being can learn. And so I promise you today that I'm going to be educating you and informing you on how it is that you can learn to listen to and hear your inner guidance, but at the same time, discern between what is inner guidance and what is your ego. And while we're going through this discussion today, I also want to let you know that these ideas are not just going to stay in your head, but we are going to work to allow them to fall to your heart, that you can actually experience it for yourself. So it's not just me talking about it with you, it's me helping to support you to experience it for yourself. So, my friends, welcome. I am so grateful you are here. I am Britney Shawley, and I am a spiritual therapist and have been for the last 15 years. And this is my Miracles Mind ministry, where we learn to transform our thinking from fear to love and from pain to joy through the application of A Course in Miracles. I'm so grateful you've joined me today. This is such an important discussion. I can't even tell you how many of you have asked me about this. This is why I'm doing this video today. I have received at least 6 to 10 questions about inner guidance since I opened up my FAQs at the bottom of my every email, which, by the way, if you haven't already, go subscribe to my weekly newsletter. You get access to all of this material directly to your inbox. And while you're down there, let's like and subscribe. And at any time through this video, feel free to comment down below as well. I keep an eye on those messages and I respond to y'all personally because I really believe it makes a difference to share what's coming up inside of you, whether it's sharing some insights, whether it's sharing some guidance, whether it's a question, whether it's an uncertainty or confusion, all is welcome here. So you're so welcome here, my friend. So, as we dive into this teaching today, I want to, quite frankly, start at the top. And the top says this: it says that we have an inner voice for love that exists within our mind now, but is often clouded over by the thoughts of ego that we often don't hear it. But the thing is that we all have a voice for love inside of our minds because it has been placed there by our creator. In our creation, we were given a link to us and our creator. And that link, as it's called in in the Course in Miracles, is called the Holy Spirit. You can call it the Holy Spirit, you can call it voice for love, you can call it the inner guidance system, you can call it your higher self, even whatever works for you. But we're starting to see that we can trust this inner voice of reason, this inner voice of love, because it comes from God. It does not come from us. We did not make it. And so, because it's made by God and not made by us, it is trustworthy in the truest sense. But I do want to let you know that this voice is not something that you have to earn. It's not something that you have to attain. It's not something that you have to get baptized for in order to hear it. It's been placed in your mind in the moment of your creation. And so you are worthy of hearing and receiving this now. Because being what you are, you have an inner voice to listen to. So I want to confirm what I'm saying with what A Course in Miracles says about it. There's this really small paragraph that I want to read to all of us because it helps bring this to light. And it's just so powerful. It's so beautiful that how can we not want our hearts to settle into it? So here's a quote. It goes like this: when man made the ego, because yes, we made the ego. When man made the ego, God placed in him the call to joy. Call to joy. This call is so strong that the ego always dissolves at its sound. That is why you can choose to listen to two voices within you. One, you made yourself, and that one is not of God. But the other is given you by God, who asks only that you listen to it. The Holy Spirit is in you in a very literal sense. His is the voice that calls you back to where you were before and where you will be again. How beautiful is that? I feel like that's so perfect. We are being told that the Holy Spirit, the voice for love, is in you in a very literal sense. You also have the ego in you, but the ego is what you made. And what we make, quite frankly, is not eternal. And therefore it changes. And so what changes and what is not eternal is not of God. And so what we make, this egoic consciousness, is temporary, right? It's only for this world. It's very, very, very temporary. So what we made is nothing in comparison to what God made, which is changeless and which is trustworthy and which is true. And God is saying he made you, and God is saying that he made the voice that is in you to return him to you. And that voice is in you in a very literal sense. It's literally going to lead you back to where you were before, which is the love, which is the heaven, which is the kingdom, which is the truth, which is our reality, which is our identity as a child of God, which is where all of our power and peace and beauty come from. So we want to learn to listen to the voice for love, because the voice for love is our strength. It is our power. Okay. It is our confidence. It is our beauty. It is our truth. It is true that we are created by love as love. And that's a whole and complete thought system. Okay. Anything that is the opposite of love is not real. And this is what we're learning here. And actually, if you need added support to know the difference between ego and the voice for love, I made a video last weekend on the ego. I will make sure I get it up on the screen so that you can click it and check that out if you wanted a more deeper understanding of what the ego is. But what we're being told here in A Course in Miracles is that the Holy Spirit, the voice for love, is in you now. It speaks for love. It speaks for peace. It speaks for joy. It speaks for clarity. It never contradicts itself. It's never going to turn to hate or upset or wrath or pain or shame ever. So know that you can trust in it. Okay. But before we can trust in it, we must know that there's a few fundamental steps that we must follow in order to be able to get deeper down to hear that soft voice. Because the ego is so loud and it's so distracting, and it's the monkey mind, ping, 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 past and present, past and future, and jumping all over the place, that we miss the mind that is here now, which is present and available for us to listen to. So there's a few things we need to do to clear this out of the way. So I'm just going to read them really quickly. The first one is we need to get out of the way. There's a thought in A Course in Miracles that says, I will step back and let him lead the way. This isn't just words. This is a practice where you literally step back in your heart, in your mind, in your beingness, in your body, and you allow Christ to lead through instead. I will let you lead because I don't want my ego to lead, honey. No, thank you. That's number one. Number two is that we must listen. Okay. We must listen to this voice. And so, which means we must get quieter sometimes to be able to hear below the fast-paced thinking mind in order to get to what the Holy Spirit is saying. The Holy Spirit is always speaking and always communicating, but quietly, in whispers and in love and in gentleness. Okay. So the ravenous screeches of the ego, if we hear that, it's really hard to hear what's underneath. So we have to quiet things down and listen. The third is, I've mentioned this already, but you really need to remember that you are worthy of hearing. You are worthy of hearing this voice. It's made for you. Okay. It's made for you. In A Course in Miracles, we're told that the Holy Spirit is the radiance that you must let banish the darkness. His is the glory, which disassociation falls away. And the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of truth, the kingdom of love breaks through into its own. So when we listen to ego, we're disassociated from God. We're disassociated from our purpose. We're disassociated from our identity. We're disassociated from our brothers and sister souls in the sonship. But what the Holy Spirit does is it dissolves all of that difference and disassociation, which automatically returns us to the light and the love that we are. So the Spirit banishes the idea of darkness because it is the idea of light. It is the idea of light. So when you catch yourself in the darkness, call on the light. When you catch yourself in fear, call on the love. Because calling on the love and calling on the light is literally a power. It is a voice for love that's going to heal you and guide you and show you another way. This isn't airy fairy, love and light. No, love, which is eternal, light, which is eternal, never changes, and there is no opposite. Like, it's the strength and the power that is going to free us from the darkness, and it's going to free us from all the pain and all the suffering. Okay, so the light is literally the answer. The Holy Spirit is literally the answer. So you must know you're worthy of hearing it before you're going to hear it. If you're telling yourself you're not worthy, you're not going to hear it. But God made it for you. Of course you're worthy. And so the final step is you got to follow it. If you're going to hear the voice and just let it be what it is and not follow it, then you're not going to actually be able to have your faith increased, your trust increased, your confidence increased. And so this is what leads me to almost like an example, a story of this in my life. When I was practicing these principles at the beginning of my A Course in Miracles journey, I was doing it in my relationship with Tom predominantly. So we were doing it together. And there was a point where we were asked and were led through many, many spiritual experiences that brought us to this point. So it's not like we just did it for no reason. We did it because we were guided. But we were told that we need to trust him and follow his voice. And we lived in our car for a bunch of weeks in the summer. But this was one of the most joyful experiences of my life because I was learning to trust his voice and his spirit and that he would provide everything for us. Because at that time, we didn't have typical jobs where you go to 9 to 5 to have a guarantee of money. There was, it was much more open and spontaneous than that. So when we were traveling and we were living out of our car, it got to a point where we didn't have any more money. I had no more in my bank. He had no more in his bank. What are we going to do? Are we going to stop and go get a job, or are we going to continue to listen to this voice and complete this experiment? Because for us, it was a science experiment. Is it going to work? We don't even know until we do it. But when you do it, you learn that it works. So we didn't know at that point. We were in the middle. But what Tom and I did is we knew prayer worked because prayer is our stepping back and letting him on in. So we prayed and we put our foreheads together and we said, Dear God, we are here for you. We're here to listen to your voice and to trust your will. If you would have us go home and find a job and like accumulate this money, we'll do that. But if you would have us to be here and just listen to your voice and follow this path of trust, we're willing to do that. We didn't receive any do this. So we took that as just be here and be now. And the more we were kind of settling into our evening, we're like, you know what? We're just supposed to go to sleep. Like, let's just go to sleep and see what happens. And so after that prayer, we let it go. And Tom and I went to sleep and we woke up in the morning. And when I woke up in the morning, there's this inner console, or however you call it, how do you call that thing in the middle of the car? Anyways, that thing, it opened. Okay. So it went vroom, and it opened. Not, I didn't see it open. It opened in the middle of the night. So when I woke up, it was open. I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I look inside the thing and I pull out an envelope and I look at the envelope and I open up the envelope and there's a $50 bill in there. I don't know about you, but when you're at a point where you don't have money, $50 is a lot of money. Have you been there? Oh, we were there. So it was $50. I was like, oh my gosh, we're abundant. We're rich. We have everything we need. And so like to me, to him, to us, it was a sign that God has got our back. The universe has our back, that we will be provided with everything we need as long as we ask him, keep his will and his way and his wants in accord in our mind, right? Is what we want. And so that $50 lasted us until we needed it. And I have more miracles to share with you, but that could be for a different video that really continued to lead us down the path. And at the end of that experience, there was no doubt in me that the voice for God is in me. There was no doubt in me that the Holy Spirit is in me. But if you even listen to the last email that we put out in our newsletter, which all those links to the newsletter are below, I shared a story about how I was so doubt filled before that experience. And so it wasn't until I took that leap of faith and said, you showed me. And I started following that voice in the way that was guided for me to do so in my life, that all of the doubt dissipated and absolute trust was born in me. So, my friends, no one is left out from this voice. We just have to practice. We literally just have to practice. Okay, we have to practice and we have to follow. So this leads me then to, okay, we want to follow the voice, of course, but like we're told from religion, for example, that there's a voice of the devil or Satan inside of you that's going to lead you to do bad things. What people aren't realizing is that the Satan or devil or whatever is really just the ego. And the ego really is our own voice. And it could be upset, it could be vicious, it could be angry, it could be rage filled. It is an insane voice that is sometimes just a little bad and then sometimes like absolutely horrific. The scale doesn't even really matter. What we're learning to do is to realize that it's not an outside force or being that we're fighting against. It's our internal ego consciousness that we are learning to not listen to. Okay. So it's not, do not fear when we're learning how to listen to the Holy Spirit. Fear people who don't teach you how to listen to the Holy Spirit, quite frankly, because the Holy Spirit is the voice for God. It's trustworthy. When you try it on and you practice it, you'll realize it's a benevolent, loving, kind, caring voice for all of the sonship, all of humanity. It's here to care for. So there's nothing scary about it. Absolutely nothing scary about it. What's scary is the ego, and the ego that makes you afraid of everything outside of yourself, when really there's nothing outside of yourself to fear. We need to correct our thinking inside here, and then everything outside that's scary goes away because the cause is here and the effect is out there. Is this making sense? Am I going over your head? I apologize, but let's bring it back. Bring it back right here, right now. We need to learn how to discern between the Holy Spirit and the ego, period, full stop. This is where the most important skill comes in. It's an incredible skill to listen to the Holy Spirit, but the way we listen to the Holy Spirit is discerning between the two voices and choosing the Holy Spirit. Because otherwise, it's a default of the ego if we don't choose the Holy Spirit. So, how do we do that? How do we discern between the ego and the Holy Spirit? How do we do that? I want to give a little biology sermon for all of us. Not that I'm a biologist. I did take a lot of this in university, but that's irrelevant. This is simplicity. This is our kindergartners can understand this. Okay. So think about cells in the body. Okay. How do they respond? When a cell feels safe, what happens is it starts to expand and move toward and connect, very much like a magnet, right? Something that's energetically pulled towards something else. The example that I like to give for this is, if you have a friend and they call you up and they're like, hey, you want to go out for sushi? You're like, yes, I would love to go for sushi. Heart expansion. You feel that expansiveness that happens. And the yes is just, of course, I want to go out for sushi, right? So that is the energy we're looking for when we're following spirit, because spirit comes from safety, because safety comes from God. And when you know that you are safe in God through the spirit, the expansiveness is what happens. Okay. So lean into that expansive energy if you want to follow spirit. Where in contrast, think of the cells when they're unsafe. What do? When cells are unsafe, they contract and they pull away, they separate and they divide, they isolate. Okay. So that's the exact same thing with the ego thoughts. The ego thoughts are constrictive. The ego thoughts will pull away. They are rooted in fear. Okay. And the example that I like to give for this is if you're sitting down for dinner and someone put the plate of food that you're allergic to, you're going to feel that repulsion. You're going to immediately feel that pull away. No, no, thank you. Like, no, thank you. This is the practice that we need to get into with mind training. Is this making me feel expansive and heart open? Or is this making me feel retreating, like as if I'm retreating and contracting and pulling away, isolating from something? Okay. So the expansiveness is the openness to all that is. The contraction is the putting up the walls and the barriers to our self, God, and everything else. Here's a question that we need to ask when it comes to this stuff. The question is, does this thought or does this nudge bring me peace, joy, and expansion? Or does this nudge make me feel like fear, judgment, and contraction? Okay, so does this thought help me expand or does it make me contract? And that's how you're going to know if it is the spirit or the ego. So pay attention to it. Okay, try it on. Let yourself see. Okay, I actually have another example of this. This is something that ties into a practical tool that I gave you in another video, which is if you're going to learn to listen to the Holy Spirit, a really good way to do that is go for a walk or go for a drive. And when you get yourself to a stop, ask and consult, what direction should I go? Left or right, straight, what turn around, what way should I go? And follow that nudge until it leads you somewhere. So again, earlier on in the relationship with me and Tom, we traveled to Boston. And when we got there, it was an incredible experience. But the people that we were staying with were a lot older than us. So they went to bed before we did. And we're like not ready to go to bed. So we borrowed a car from one of the ladies who worked there. And we're like, Spirit, we would like to go to the water, wherever the water is. We would like to walk across some border that leads us close to the water. We would love to have it be lit and well lit up because it was dark. We didn't want it to be too dark. We wanted it to be cozy and beautiful and show us around Boston and all this stuff. So we put out our call to the universe. And so when we're driving, we're like, okay, where do we go? We have no idea. We didn't have GPS. This was in like 2010. I don't know why we didn't have GPS, but we didn't. Okay. And so now we got to use our universal GPS system, which is the Holy Spirit. And that's what we did. We'd pull up somewhere, do we go right or left? And we just follow where we felt. Okay, let's go this way. Does that feel expansion? Yes. Does this feel contraction? Okay, don't go there. Follow the expansion, contraction. Until we found ourselves at the most perfect place. We're like, no way. We landed on the coast. We've got everything we asked for was there. It was bright lit. It was beautiful. All these cozy little stores that you can go into. They were all closed, but it didn't matter to us. We just wanted it space and light and water and breath and air. And it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And we're like, oh my gosh, there it is. There's the perfect answer to what we were asking for. So my friends, just know that this guidance system is for you personally and individually to help you to heal, but it's also for you personally and individually to guide you in your life. Think of it as your GPS system. It is your inner guidance system that you can follow. It'll also tell you what to say, where to go, what to do, what not to do. We literally are learning how to listen to it. But this leads me to the last part here. Okay. How is it that we ensure that we listen to it? These practices of expansion and contraction are everything, but it's also stillness. We really, really need to start embracing stillness. If you go into a really loud room that has so many people talking over each other and there's music playing and it's busy, like, can you hear the little child who's like whispering to you that they need to go to the bathroom? Like, maybe not. But if you got down to their level and you pulled them outside that busy room and you listened to them and paid attention, you would be able to hear. That's what we need to do with the Holy Spirit. We need to realize that the ego is like being in a crowded room with people. We need to still ourselves, step away, back away, so we can really hear deep down below. So, this is where we need to practice stillness. So, if you would like to practice this practice that I do for myself to get into this still place to hear the Holy Spirit, join me. What I suggest that you do is to either take your hands and place them on your heart or just keep them palms open and place them on your lap. Either way, I do recommend that you close your eyes, turning into our inner world, and just allow yourself to breathe. Allowing your inhales and exhales to be reflective of the waves in the ocean, allowing it to flow into each other. And just begin to pay attention to the bottoms of your feet. Perhaps your feet are resting on the ground. And begin to feel as if your feet are so deeply grounded into the earth. That deep, deep sense of stability and grounding. As you inhale, allow it to rise up through your ankles, through your upper legs, into your hips, allowing it to travel up your arms, resting in your hands. Perhaps you feel your hands becoming warmer, tingling, energizing. As you feel so grounded in the feet and so open to receive in your hands, the relaxation travels through your torso, resting into your heart as your heart opens and expands to give and receive that love. The relaxation rests on your shoulder as your shoulders rest downward. Perhaps your spinal column is becoming straight and your shoulders are back and your head is held high. You're breathing in a way so you feel absolutely confident. The relaxation travels through the face, opening up your communication channels in your throat, opening up your third eye center to see with true vision, ears turning inward, relaxation at the top of the head. Perhaps you feel light, tingling vibrations at the top of your head. And just allow the relaxation to then flow all the way down your body to your feet, all the way back up to your head, and all the way back down again, cleansing and healing, feeling the expansive energy now. And it is in this place when we're quiet where we can ask the question, Spirit, inner guidance, what would you have me know right now? And just listen. Remember that the answer for you can come through words, it can come through pictures, it can come through sounds or downloads or feelings or intuitions. What would the Spirit like you to know right now? And whatever came to you, trust it. Go along with whatever first came. And then ask for further clarity if you need to know more. And just allow yourself to take whatever you heard, felt, or experienced with you into your heart, into your day. And just imagine as if you are extending the love that is in your heart and the message that you received, and it's just radiating out to those you love, radiating out to those who you have disagreements with and perhaps don't even like right now, radiating to the world that needs the love and the support and the care from our heart to the hearts of our brothers and sisters around the world who are calling to love. Feel it, the giving and the receiving of that love. And allow this feeling to then settle, come back into you, saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And whenever you feel ready and complete, feel free to open up your eyes, wiggling those fingers and the toes, and coming back to this room. Whatever answer you received for yourself today, beautiful souls, feel free to journal it out. You can even put it in the comments. Share that gift with all of us. What was your experience like? What did Spirit want you to know right now? For me, what I heard was just thank you. Thank you. And sometimes that's all we need to know. Sometimes there will be more specificity, but it depends on what you need in that moment each and every given day. So we trust the Spirit in every single way with whatever it is that we need to receive, hear, and experience. And the more that you practice this, the better you'll get at hearing, seeing, and experiencing the Spirit's voice within you. Just practice. It's a skill. It's a skill like anything else. You're learning a new language. This is literally the language of the soul. So let's take a moment here to just to bring everything that we learned about today into focus. Okay. Your inner guidance is already within you, and it's trustworthy because it comes from God. God's voice speaks in love and clarity and peace, and you feel the expansion of it in your beingness when you're following it. So if you feel that contraction, you know it's of ego. If you feel that expansion, you know it's lifting your heart toward your connection with God and with our beautiful brother and sister souls around the world. So just remember that anytime you need, just put your hands on your hearts, breathe deeply, and ask what spirit would have you know, and begin to trust and cultivate your direct relationship with this inner voice today and every day going forward. If this teaching resonated with you, my friends, thank you for liking and subscribing. And please leave a comment below. I will definitely attend to those personally to make sure that I respond to you in the way that's most helpful to you. But just remember, my friends, this is a community of spirit led, beautiful souls, and we are all here to support you. You are not alone. No question is wrong, bad, or off limits. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your time and your space and your heart and your words with us. We love you and adore you. And with that being said, I hope you hear spirit inside your mind and heart more and more every day, and you can follow it as it leads you towards the peace and the joy and the purpose that is your birthright. So until next time, my friends, stay open, stay curious, and know you are deeply loved. Peace.